We have Odell Johnson from Maple with us today, a retired farmer from that area and also World War II veteran, flew P47s in World War II and was shot down on the 9th of September 1944 and spent
10 months.
10 months, yeah, I was in a P.O.W. camp. So we'll be talking about his experiences and we'll start out by, why don't you tell us a little bit about your early life growing up in Maple?
Well, I worked on the farm one year after high school.
Okay.
And then my brother graduated, so then I went to Cedar Rapids. I worked in a factory. And I run a canteen shop there. I stayed there till I enlisted.
Okay, yeah.
And
Were you in any danger of being drafted? I suppose you were.
no, not yet then.
Yeah.
They hadn't started anything below 21.
Okay.
I had to get my parents' signature to join in.
So when you joined the Air Force or the Army Air Corps back then, how old were you then? 20 or?
20 years old.
20 years old.
And I went to Des Moines, and in 3 days I went to Shepherd Field, Texas,
Okay.
and I was down there probably about 4 or 5 days, and then we went to Schnutfield, Illinois, because they had diphtheria in St. Louis or something, the camp down there.
Yeah.
So they quarantined the camp and they needed students right away.
So how did you get into flight training then?
Well, it was the different ones had taken the test and they'd passed it for 2 years of college. And so I went and took the test and I passed it. And then I waited around about a month. And they took a trainload of us and sent them to Nashville, Tennessee. Had a little camp there, and down there you went and took different tests for coordination and all that sort of stuff. And after about 2 weeks there, they loaded a trainload of us and sent us to California, to Santa Ana. And we got out there, then we had board tests, and we assigned different schools. And I went to Santa Ana, and that school was owned by the name of John Hancock, and he lived in California. He was an oil man, and he was about 70 years old, but he had an Army PT-17, I think. He flew out there once in a while. Had some very good instructors there. And I was there, I got a letter one day from home that my mother was pretty sick. It was on a Sunday I got the letter, and I went and talked to the commanding officer. And he said, well, we'll let you go home, and we'll take your word for it, you're an officer, be an officer. And so I went to Los Angeles and got a plane ride to Kansas City, and from there I took a train home. And after my 2 weeks, my mother died, so I extended it for another 2 weeks, and then I went back to Santa Ana, and I went to a different instructor, and he was a really exceptional good pilot. I didn't stay with him very long because it was another instructor was having trouble with making him perform right. So I got that instructor, and these two guys took my instructor, and I could see why he was a mechanical pilot.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about. And
You were flying the P-17 then? The
P-17.
Yeah, the trainer.
Yeah. And then I graduated from there and went to Len Myrah, California for basic training. And from there I went to Lukefield, Arizona.
Yeah. Still in operation today.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to go to either fighters or multi-engine or?
Yeah. And I had 3 choices, and all 3 were I put fighter.
Okay.
When I was in Lukefield, I had a chance to fly the P40 for 10 hours.
Okay.
But I gave up my weekend pass so I get those 10 hours there because so many tried to get in on it. And that's why I stayed with the P40s. And then when I got done with that, I went to, got commissioned. And, let's see, I went to San Antonio, I think. And then we went to, down in Florida someplace, up around the capital of Florida, Tallahassee.
Was that Tyndall Air Force Base or?
No, it was just another stop where they decided where they're going to send you.
Okay. But had you already gotten your wings by this time?
Oh yeah.
And so.
30th of August, 1943.
Okay. Yeah. And your advanced training was in the P40?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pinellas Air Force Base in St. Petersburg. And I was there about 3 months. One day we was out flying and we was up to the Grand Canyon and around and I was the 4th man. And he done 360s stuff like that. And when we got about done, I couldn't keep up any longer. So I tried to use my phone and tell him, no phone.
Yeah.
So I looked for a place to land and I found a patch where some cows were in there, but I landed in there anyhow. And when I pulled the throttle back, she froze. So
And that was the P40 too?
P40, yeah.
So, did you land with your wheels down or up? Or?
Wheels up.
Oh, so you belly landed it.
Yeah. And then all they do is take the wings off and lift them up and pull them out.
Yeah. When did you head for Europe then, the European theater?
January of 44.
44, and you went to Casablanca first?
Yeah.
Okay. And were you flying the P47s in North Africa?
Well, P40. No, I didn't fly anything until I got to Italy.
Okay. But did you move farther east in North Africa then? Did you fly?
We went over to, I can't tell you the name of the town. It's about halfway over to Egypt.
Yeah.
And we stayed there one night, and then the next day they flew us into Naples.
Okay.
I went into Naples,
Yeah.
and we stayed at a family house there. And the bedroom I stepped in, it had Italian uniform on a hanging up there. But the Germans had taken him and he was on the Eastern Front.
Okay.
I stayed in Italy till about July. It took 6 of us together, and we all went to the same squadron and stuff.
Okay.
And I think we all lived through it except one.
So the type of flying you did out of Naples was pretty much ground support or bombing?
And we always took a bomb run
Okay.
someplace.
Yeah.
When we first started out, we went to marshalling yards, you know,
Yeah.
and that was, God, it was, any aircraft was heavy.
Yeah.
But we found out if we take the same number of planes and put our bombs down the road, we were doing a better job.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they took them longer to get to the different places. When we was in the marshalling yards, they had everything to fix it up right away. Didn't
Right
they?
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but they were heavily defended, so there's a lot of anti-aircraft fire.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Did you ever come back with holes in your wings?
No,
Oh.
I was lucky.
Yeah. So, and you were flying the P40 at this time?
Yeah, but to see the way we done this, we go out to sea. We go up to our target, and then work our way into our target, and then get back out to sea, so there wouldn't be so much anti-aircraft.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
And when we started in toward our target, we'd pick up altitude, at least a couple of thousand feet. And the last 5 minutes into our target, we would decrease our altitude and increase our speed.
Yeah.
And that's what saved us. Because they was
Yeah.
mechanical, setting their fuses.
So we, like in Vietnam when I flew, we always thought that the faster you go, the more invisible you are.
Yeah.
So speed was always good. When did you start flying the P47 then?
In July of 44.
The 44. Were you still in Naples when you got them? Or?
Oh no, we'd moved probably 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
We stay close to the troops,
Yeah. Okay.
and they'd take a bulldozer and
Make an airstrip.
Yeah.
And so you eventually worked your way into France?
no, we went to Corsica,
Corsica first, yeah, okay, yeah.
and then we sat there in sort of the desert on the eastern part of the Corsica. The northwest corner was developed,
Okay, yeah.
and we had to fly over the hump and to get there every day. And it took off right into the mountain for takeoff.
Yeah.
And we flew, we had the 47 then.
Okay, yeah.
And we got to Corsica, and then we was hitting bridges and stuff in southern France. But we never got close to the casino.
Okay.
We was told not to get up to the casino.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So you were flying the P47 at
Yeah.
this time then, yeah. Your first flight in a P47 was that training flight, or were you on a regular mission?
I had training flight.
Training flights?
We had both planes there,
Yeah.
and we could go out and fly them, and
What did you think of the P47 when you first flew it?
that was the nicest airplane I'd ever got into.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was so smooth.
yeah. Roomy cockpit and
Yeah.
yeah. I read a little account about the British when they first flew it after flying Spitfires, and it weighed about 3 times as much as a Spitfire, and they couldn't understand why it makes such a heavy airplane, but after they found out how much punishment it could take, they really appreciated it.
Yeah.
You know, they take a lot of punishment and they still teach back to base. So,
Well, the P40 had a thick armor on it.
well, it did, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
When we was down there at Naples, I'd probably been there 3 weeks or something like that when they decided to make the push, you know. And we was bombing at their casino so much, because that's where they sit and watch us.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And well, the day we made the push, my squadron commander took a big share of the planes, and he says, "You take 4." And he told me it's another bomb that had to be dropped. They told me how they wanted me to fly it, and I flew with the wind behind me, and where the target was. And the four of us dropped our bombs there, and we had to drop them above 5,000 feet. And I found out about a week later that there was parachute bombs. There was magnesium,
Okay.
and they burnt a hole in one iron thick armor plate right on through. So the people there surrendered. They come out with a white flag, and our troops went through, and we never heard of one of our troops.
Okay. Was that at the casino or?
No, it was down closer to Naples.
Okay, okay.
It was it's a river coming in there, and
So when you did dive bombing, you released them at 5,000 feet?
or above.
Or above, yeah, okay. And so how big a bomb was that you carried?
It looked like about a 2,500 pounder.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good size, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any guys in your squadron who became aces?
Not when I was there, no.
Yeah.
They never touched us, you know.
Yeah.
So, and as long as we could see them flying out there, and they didn't bother us, we wasn't going to go chasing them.
Okay, yeah.
And they'd come over and try and harass us at night.
Okay.
All the time I was over there, they never bothered us, but and then when we went into France, they sent a squadron of P-38s to help us out,
Okay.
and they lost half of their men.
Okay.
I don't know why, but the Germans never touched us.
Yeah. Then, so when did you move into France?
August, early August of '44.
So you didn't have anything to do with the D-Day invasion?
No,
No, you were down in Corsica at that time, yeah.
D-Day invasion was we took Rome
Okay.
same day, and
That's 75 years ago here in 2 days, yeah.
yeah, and we had a lot of German troops trying to go back up to help in France,
Okay.
and God, we must have taken it was miles of them, 2 cars and trucks that we destroyed.
And that was the strafing then?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah, you had, the P47 had 8 50 millimeters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody said that when you fired all 8 of those things, it was like driving into a wall.
Yeah,
Did the plane vibrate quite a bit when you?
not too bad.
Yeah, no. But that was a heavy airplane, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
took a lot of punishment, yeah. But,
When I was shot down, it's just like I stopped,
okay,
and
So-
then I was all covered with
yeah. With oil.
oil.
So, the day you got shot down, the 9th of September 1944, where were you flying from then? What airfield?
I can't tell you the name of it because I was only there 2 days.
Okay,
Most of the time we was out in where the bulldoze fields.
so it was in France someplace you took off from?
Yep, we moved in there the night before, and then I had the mission the next morning, and that's the day I got shot down.
Now, the airfields and they bulldozed, was it just dirt runways?
Oh yeah,
Just dirt? What did you have, about 3,000-4,000 feet, I suppose?
I don't know. I think we had 5,000.
5,000 you probably, yeah.
But one of them, it got so dusty, we had a foot of dust. So we'd take off 4 abreast.
Okay,
And they would open her up, take off, and
yeah.
they couldn't see for half an hour.
Okay, so exactly were you shot down on the 9th of September? Was it in France you were shot?
Yep, it's just,
Northern France?
well, you go to Mulehausen, it's the town where they took me to.
Mulehausen, yeah.
And Freiburg is in Germany,
Okay.
across the Rhone.
Okay,
And where I was shot down, there was a canal going through there. And I walked over to that woods there, and I could look across the canal and see the German soldiers walking down there every 15 minutes.
okay.
And they didn't bother me all morning.
Did you have a wingman with you?
I had 3 of them.
3 of them. Did they circle you after you crash landed, or did they?
Yeah, yeah,
So they saw you get out of the airplane and knew you were alive.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they came back and strafed the plane afternoon.
Okay.
And that was
this in the morning or?
yeah. I took off about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay. So, had you had your breakfast yet, or?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, but that you weren't injured at all then in the crash landing.
Not from the crash.
Yeah.
I was shot in the shoulder.
By a German.
I don't know what it was. Something busted through my canopy and
And when you're still in the air, you got.
well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You got got hit in the shoulder. Did it affect your flying at all?
No.
Yeah. Well, it was just a flesh wound then.
Well, I was all blood up here.
Yeah. Okay.
My T-shirt and everything is stuck right to it.
Yeah. Okay. And so that is just before you got shot down
In the dive run.
in the dive run. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you told me that you think you got hit by a 90 millimeter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right in the engine area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They was 90 millimeters to run on 4-wheel trailers,
Okay. Yeah.
and they could go 90 degrees.
Okay. Yeah.
We bombed a lot of them where you see them placed,
Okay.
and because once you get them a good bomb on them, they're done for.
Were you in a strafing run when you were, or a bombing run, or
strafing?
strafing run when you got hit? Yeah. But you obviously, was there a lot of farm fields right in that area then? So
All prairie.
all prairie. So
I was 20 miles from Switzerland.
okay, 20 miles from Switzerland. Okay. Yeah.
And that canal went right through there, and right down to was a Basel, where it joined the Rhine.
Okay. So, how did you get captured then? You said you spent 8 hours before you get captured about?
They lined up on this side of the fence, river canal,
Yeah.
and they all come through.
Okay.
And I was in a bush there, and a straggler went back around the bush the second time, and he found me.
Okay.
Then a reward rifle pointing at you.
Yeah. Did they take care of your wound?
No.
No. But you were good enough you were able to walk, and did they interrogate you after that quite a bit, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Any rough treatment by the interrogators?
Not too bad, no.
Yeah. But did they know at that time that the war was coming to an end, do you think?
I think they did.
Yeah, yeah. And did you have any worry about German fighters at that point in the war?
No.
There weren't that many left, I guess, yeah. So the skies were kind of clear then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know anybody in the P.O.W. camp that?
Right where I was shot down, Orlando Lee owned the Newhouse store. During World War I, he'd been to Mulehausen with his truck.
Okay.
He stayed a little too long,
Yeah.
and he come back and he got on top of that bridge going across there, and he made a right-hand turn there. And just beyond the bridge was the road. And so he ended up in the canal in World War One.
Who was that?
Orlando Lee.
Orlando Lee, okay.
And he told my dad just where I was at.
Okay.
And
So he'd been there, the same place you were in
Yeah.
World War One, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Mulehausen, is it?
Mulhouse.
Mulhouse.
The
Okay.
Germans say Mulhausen.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And well, that's interesting. So he ended up in the canal.
Yeah.
We've got several World War II veterans, like Merlin de Bergston used to be
Yeah.
a male. You probably knew him.
He was in the same P.O.W. camp as I was,
Okay,
but he was on the far side.
okay.
There was 13 cabins, with 2,000 some men.
Okay.
It was 3,000 at the end.
3,000, okay, yeah. So, how soon did you get into they get you to a where was this POW camp located? Was it in
Barth, Germany, 80 miles from Poland and 60 miles from Sweden.
Okay, okay, so it was in Germany, and were the guards pretty easy to get along? Were they fairly?
They didn't have many.
Didn't have many. They're all in the Eastern Front, probably, I
Yeah.
suppose. And so,
No.
if that was probably the best duty in the German army at that time was to be a guard at a prisoner of war camp. Yeah. So you had quite a bit of freedom in the camp itself, or
No, in the compound.
compound? Yeah.
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 But they built another compound when we was there, and that they got to be bigger than ours.
Okay.
They was, toward the end of the war, they shipped a bunch out of Poland into the North Sea up there,
Okay.
and they come across by boat, but they couldn't all get out of that camp, so they marched 100 days back and forth between the Russians and the Germans before they finally got liberated.
And when they took you to the camp, how did you travel? By train or truck or?
Train.
Okay.
They took it from Mulhausen to Frankfurt, Germany, and there you went through. They took you into a room and stripped you. You all throw your clothes in a pile, and then you took a shower. And we was warned if you ever went in that shower to hold your breath as long as you could.
Okay.
It was just a cold shower.
Did so you were there from September through the winter. Was the winter severe? What were the barracks cold or?
Well, there's enough human body in there to keep warm,
Keep warm.
just like a barn.
Yeah. So there's a lot of boredom, I suppose, in the.
Well, we had books and stuff people would get from home.
But did they ever have use you for slave labor or for anything?
No.
No.
They had German women,
Okay.
POWs,
Okay.
and we was liberated by Marshal Zhukov, and his daughter was a POW there,
Oh, is that right? Okay.
and her duty was the honey bucket machine,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Did you ever see him personally? Did he show?
I saw him drive in.
Okay.
He was on a white horse.
I suppose since his daughter was there, he probably wanted to.
He was
be there.
pretty mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what was the procedure after you were liberated? Did you just stay there until?
Well, we could do as we wanted to. Either that or wait for a ride home.
Okay.
They advised us to wait for a ride home.
So.
And it took us a month before we got out of there.
Okay. So then, did the food get better that month you waited, or?
Yeah, we got more Red Cross parcels.
Okay. Yeah.
We got from Christmas till Easter. We didn't hardly have anything to eat,
Yeah.
and one bowl of soup a day, and it was cabbage and rutabagas.
Okay.
That's all it was. And
And when you left the camp, what did you weigh?
I was about 110 pounds when I left there.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But I was thinner than that, but from Easter Sunday till left, we ate pretty good.
So when you finally got left that camp, where did you go? Did you go to some U.S. military installation
Yeah.
for some rehab?
We went to France. Lucky Strike, Camp Lucky Strike, I believe it was. And we sat there for a month because they're using all our troops to get them to for Japan.
Okay, yeah.
And so
So when you came home, did you come? You came by ship, I guess,
yeah,
to New York or
no, Virginia.
Norfolk, Virginia, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
And I read in the clipping from the Mabel record that you had 60 days leave when you got home.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did your dad put you to work on the farm then, or?
Well, not much, no.
Yeah. And then after that, you went back. You went to some military installation here in the States.
We went to Miami. We got reassigned.
Okay.
I went to San Antonio, and then we got reassigned again, and then I went to Alabama. Where they had that there.
Maxwell.
No, not Maxwell. Maxwell's Montgomery.
Yeah.
Selma, Alabama.
Selma. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, were you flying then after the war?
Yeah, yeah. I was up. I got checked out, and I flew every day, whatever. I flew for a year and a half, but then they started cutting down,
Okay. Yeah.
and West Pointer got my job. So
Okay.
then I could.
Were you flying the P47 yet?
No, 86.
ATOs. Okay. Were you just an instructor or just for training flights?
It just, and I was assigned as a mechanical officer,
Okay.
but it was three of us, and we didn't have nothing to do hardly. So.
Okay. So, when did you get released from active duty then? After?
I stayed in. I went to from there to Salt Lake City, and the depot was there.
Okay.
And there I was a maintenance property officer. I had B-17s coming in there. And B-29s coming in from Europe,
Yeah.
and we'd sort of winterize them, and then put them out on the dry dock.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they was cutting down again, so I got released.
Okay.
Went to Denver and then went home.
But 1946 sometime?
I was 47.
And 47. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Did you do any flying after they got out of the military?
I done 2 years of crop spraying.
Oh, you did, huh?
Yeah. North Dakota.
Flying, what are you flying at? Steerman?
Steermans.
Yeah.
We tried to get into Canada, but we couldn't because it has to be 25% Canadian owned.
Okay. But was that your own outfit that you started, or did?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had your own spraying outfit?
Yeah. Dean Elliston was a B-29 pilot.
Okay.
Him and I, and then George Bacon, he was our mechanic.
Oh, that's why Bacon was George was your mechanic, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, I got a chance to go farming, and that was better than flying crop dusting.
Yeah.
It was just tough, getting tough to collect all that back in.
Yeah.
But if we'd made an arrangement so we get so many bushels of we'd been better off in the money.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Was there any possibility that you had been called up for the Korean War?
No, I was called up more toward the Vietnam War.
Okay, okay,
And I said, not unless I absolutely have to.
okay.
Because they changed that P47 to a 3,000 in horsepower.
Yeah. How much flight time did you end up with then?
I don't know just exactly. 900 hours or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Well, you, I saw you flew 100 and some missions, and so
No.
yeah, when you finished flight program, I suppose you had about 200 hours, probably. I think something like that. That's what we usually had.
I had 240 when I graduated.
So by the time you by the time you got to the P47, you had a lot of experience. So
yeah.
So
Yeah, when we got to Naples, most of the pilots had flown all through Africa.
yeah, okay,
They were sitting with over 100 missions. And they just said, well, you're going to fly.
okay,
And within 2 weeks, I was flight leader.
okay.
And so they just pulled out and we had to take over.
Okay, yeah.
And we had 4 or 5 older pilots. Well, let's see, it was 30 of us, all total flying. It was 6 of us. So all the rest of us older pilots.
Did you ever meet up with the squadron of Negro pilots like the Red Tails? They flew the P-51, I think.
Yeah, they went from Naples to over the other side of Italy.
Okay, yeah.
And
Did you ever get a chance to fly the P-51?
no,
I never did. Okay.
No.
Yeah. I read on the internet that they built over 15,000 P-47s,
yeah.
and they said the P-47D, which you flew, was probably the best one. You know.
The one I was flying was built in New York City, and it cost $5,000,
5,000, yeah.
and it was paid for by the employees of that Republic factory in Brooklyn or wherever it was.
Well, before we finish here, Odell was just in February this year. Was in
28th of February, he was commissioned, major.
His grandson was commissioned, made major in the Air Force, and he was there for the swearing-in ceremony in Austin. Was it in Austin? Lackland?
Abilene.
Abilene, Texas. So he's got a tradition going on with his grandson. And you had, how many children? You have 3 children?
4.
4 children?
Yeah.
And they all are in various locations in the country?
One's in Florida. He's selling bonds and stuff now. The other one's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and he worked for Pepsi Cola for 42 years. And my daughter's in Stillwater, and she worked for, they all graduated from college. My youngest son, he's in Black River Falls
Okay,
now.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did they all go to college locally? Around?
3 of them went through the university, and my son went through Minnesota 3M.
Okay, yeah.
And he worked with the Carl Pollad and as an accountant.
Okay,
And he's seen that these guys that were driving on their truck was making more money than he was. So he went and told him, he says, I'm not going to sit there driving all this. I'm going to either do something else or else I'm gonna get a truck and deliver stuff. So Carl said him when the two lawyers and a guy who transcribed languages, and him, and they go out and look at a piece of property, and they go out there 4 or 5 days to a week, and see if it's worth buying.
Okay, yeah.
And if it was, they'd come back, and he said he never went home until he wrote his report. And he got to be a manager of Southeast United States for Pepsi, and then he went to Spain for 3 years, and then he was back and forth to Russia for about 5 years.
Okay.
But their son, he didn't go to a regular college. He went to an Air Force college in Florida. It's a pilot training.
Do you and your wife travel around to see your children and grandchildren, or?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so.
we went with Zimmer tours all over the United States.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, do you have anything else you'd like to add, Odell? We've had a good conversation here about your experiences, and I'm glad we touched base and get you on tape for Giants here, all your experiences.
Yeah.
And you've had kind of an amazing life, especially when you're in the Air Force, and all your experiences throughout the European theater. So. Okay, well, I think we can come this to a close, and appreciate your time and coming over here, and glad we met and had this conversation.